Let's talk about these new KEF Q Concerto Metas here in a really handsome satin white and priced at only $1,300. That's $300 less than the LS50 Metas and $900 less than the R3 Metas that are also a three-way speaker, and what these actually look very, very similar to. I wish I had the R3 Metas here to side-by-side A/B listen as well, but I have today the KEF LS50 Metas that I've had for over 3 years, as well as the Martin Logan Motion XT B100s that we will do comparisons of. Spoiler alert, these should be on the top of your short list if you're in the market for great sounding speakers. Hi and welcome. I'm Hunter Gray and this is Hunter-Gray-LUV-Music. It's important to me that my music sounds beautiful when I play it. So that's why we're here today talking about hi-fi gear, because your hi-fi gear and my hi-fi gear helps or hurts how the music that we love sounds when we play it at home. So slow down for a few minutes and enjoy while we have a chat about KEF's new Q Concerto Meta stand mount speakers. All right, let's jump right into my notes from my first listening session. With these on my reference Class D amp, the XTZ Edge A2 300, which is 300 watts into 4 ohms and 150 watts into 8 ohms, played with the Win Pro Plus streamer using the Win Pro Plus's AKM DAC and no subwoofer. The soundstage is very good and it extends wider than the speakers, which I really like. The mids and the treble have no glare, have no harshness at all, but I would not describe them as sweet or ethereal. I'd describe them as transparent and clean and highly resolving. Just everything is being clearly and pleasantly just presented to you. It reminds me of drinking a bottle of Pellegrino, which is my favorite. You get an awareness that you are hearing everything that is in the recording with nothing bad and with nothing added. Thus, my description as transparent, but in a way that is very engaging and keeps you listening. I really like it. I should tell you that I'm the type who can find a neutral and clean sound signature to be boring and not so engaging. You know, like for instance, somehow it just doesn't draw me in. Like when you think to yourself, this sounds really good, but I need to do X or Y or Z, and then you don't hesitate to just turn off the music, versus when I'm listening to something that's really engaging and fun, and this keeps me from turning off the music, even though I know I have other things that I need to be doing, but I just keep listening anyway. I point this out because these Q Concerto Metas are engaging just like that. They just drew me into the music in a way that I really liked, and in a way that doesn't always happen. And in a way that just kept me listening track after track. More so than on the Martin Logan XT B100s did when I was A/B listening in the living room with no subwoofer, just the stand mounts. I'm going to begin with some comparisons to the just mentioned Martin Logan Motion XT B100s and with my KEF LS50 Metas. But first, I need to ask you for your support. If this is your first time listening, I'd like to ask you to, think about if you like my take on speakers, amps, DACs, streamers, headphones, and IEMs. I'd love to ask for you to support the channel by subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. If you like this video, if you hit the thumbs up button, it sure helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're able to, please support the channel by joining my Patreon. The Patreon link is down in the description. Take a look around. And I'd also like to make you aware that down in the description, some but not all of the links are affiliate links. They do not cost you anything when you buy something with an affiliate link, but the channel does earn a small commission, and that is your no-cost way to show your support for the channel. And I want to thank you again for supporting the channel. So please like, subscribe, and all of that stuff, share. Now, I'm going to point out to you that there is a really, really excellent trend that we are seeing in hi-fi audio speakers, and it is represented right here by the KEF Q Concerto Metas. Now, I'm going to give the credit for starting this trend to Sean Casey at Zoo-Audio, who in 2010 came up with the idea of their Zoo Dirty Weekend speakers. The way Zoo went about creating the Dirty Weekend speakers is reflected in the speaker's name, the Dirty Weekend. And in the car industry, this type of creative, high-performance side project is referred to as a skunkworks project. And some of the most iconic cars have resulted from skunkworks projects, like the Audi RS2, the Ford GT, the BMW Z3 M Coupe, and my favorite, the BMW 1M, maybe the ultimate high-performance parts bin car. What Sean Casey at Zoo-Audio wanted to do was to create, and I quote from the Zoo website, quote, a loudspeaker that would give the non-technical, a person that wanted big and lifelike sound but might not know it yet, a clear reason to own great loudspeakers. And in 2010, their price target for the Dirty Weekend 1 was $1,000. The goal was to do everything they could to keep as much of the more expensive Union speakers' sound quality, but be able to bring it in and sell it at their target price in 2010 of $1,000. Now, today's Zoo Dirty Weekend is in the Dirty Weekend 6, and it starts at $1,600, which is the one that I have. I have it in black satin, and I absolutely love the Zoo Dirty Weekend 6. I'll put a link to the description down below of my review of the Zoo Dirty Weekend 6. Then, at the end of 2022, Buchart did a very similar thing when they released their P300 in relation to their S400 MK2. Mads Buchart states on their website that their intention was to do with the P300 clearly the same concept as Zoo did with the Dirty Weekend 6. They took the P300 and brought it in at 1,400 euros, which is roughly $1,520, compared to the S400 Mark II at 2,100 euros, which is roughly $2,300. That's a savings of $800, and they only made 3 changes from the S400 Mark II. They changed the binding post and the woofer motor. I think I'm correct in that. I think that was the only change to the woofer that Mads made. I could be wrong. And the big change was in the crossover network, where they saved some money. Now, in the summer of 2023, Martin Logan launched their Foundation series. They termed, quote from their website, a new standard in affordable performance. The Foundation F2 floor standards come in at $1,000 each, or $2,000 a pair, compared to their Motion XT F100s at $2,250 each, or $4,500 a pair. That's a savings of $2,500 a pair. and take a look at Andrew Robinson's review of the Foundation F2. I'd really like to have a chance to hear and review the Foundation F2s, but both Andrew and Christy, it sounded like, really liked and appreciated those Foundation F2s. And now we come to KEF, which recently released this all-new Q Concerto Meta speakers. These are $1,300. The LS50 Metas are $1,600, and the R3 Metas that are the similarly sized three-way big sibling to the Q Concertos are $2,200. These are $900 less than the R3 Metas. So, has the hi-fi industry lost its mind? Why are they undercutting their own products? Doesn't this drive down their margins? Well, let me walk you through this, because probably not. There is profit to this pattern that I just laid out to you. Fundamentally, from a business and bottom line perspective, bear with me. If you sell a product that makes a $200 net profit margin and you sell 10 units of that product, the company has a $2,000 net profit margin. Now, if the company has another product which has only a $100 profit margin, but due to its lower price has a higher unit sales, so in this scenario, perhaps they sell 50 units. That's a $5,000 net profit margin. So this lower priced product with only half the profit margin generates 2.5x the profit due to its sales volume of 5x the pricier product. Apologize if this is so fundamental that it's boring to you, but I just want to, run through some very simple and clear math concepts of how the business case may be very profitable for products like the P300, the Zoo Dirty Weekend, the Motion Foundation, the Martin Logan Foundation line, and KEF's Q Concerto line. Now, let's factor in the realities of this specific hi-fi industry in particular. What is the size of this market, referred to as the TAM, the total addressable market? Is the hi-fi industry TAM growing, or is it shrinking? What role does the age of the hi-fi enthusiast buyers that make up the hi-fi market play in whether the hi-fi market is shrinking or growing? If this industry, this hi-fi industry, is going to bring in new and younger buyers who get the switch flipped on to the hi-fi bug that I have and maybe you have, the passion for sound, then will each of these hi-fi manufacturers be in the future if we don't bring in new and younger hi-fi enthusiasts into the fold? As the industry, hi-fi industry TAM, total addressable market, as we age out, the market is going to shrink. So what is the lifetime value of a new hi-fi enthusiast to the industry, or to a company like KEF, or to a company like Martin Logan or Zoo-Audio or Buchart? Now, back to what I mentioned initially, what Sean Casey said in 2010, and this is on their website under the DW6. What Zoo wanted to do was introduce, and I quote, a loudspeaker that would give the non-technical, a person that wanted big and lifelike sound but might not know it yet, a clear reason to own great loudspeakers, end quote. I will paraphrase Sean Casey's goal. It's to create a gateway product to the new hi-fi enthusiast. In my opinion, that is what Zoo and the Dirty Weekend and Buchart and the P300 and KEF and the Q Concerto and Martin Logan in their Foundation line. This is the whole business model. The business point is it's a gateway product, all of these, to bringing in new and younger hi-fi enthusiasts. And based on my years and my listening, these hi-fi manufacturers are overachieving their intent. They're giving us, the hi-fi enthusiasts, some really, really beautiful and high-end sounding and high-end performing speakers at a fraction of the price of their big siblings, who were only incrementally superior to their high-value skunkworks type speakers. Now, I point this out in part because I think some reviewers are afraid to go all in on just how good these high-value for money speakers really are. Perhaps they're a little cautious of, or afraid even of, steering their viewers away from a manufacturer's higher priced products. In my opinion, that is a mistake. I have a different point of view. As I just stated, I think it's important to be clear about just how good these speakers are. And the gateway products like these are a benefit to the manufacturer. They are important for us to grow and renew the hi-fi enthusiast market and bring new people into our hobby. I hope I'm correct that all of these speakers, the DW6, the P300, the Foundation F2, these Q Concerto Metas, are win, win, win for the industry, for the manufacturers, and for us, the buyers, because we, the buyers, are certainly winners here. Such great value for money. If you have a different perspective on this, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. This is just my point of view. Now, let's jump into the comparisons. A/B listening in my living room. As you know, I like to start by listening to any speakers in for review on my clean and neutral Class D amp that provides power and nothing more to the signal path. So I can hear what the speakers themselves sound like on their own. And once I've determined that and I've described that in my notes, then I will play them on one of my Class A amps and see how their sound changes. And in my opinion, this always, almost always, improves the sound powered by of speakers when they're powered by a Class A amp. For the Q Concerto Metas, I played them on my Apos.audio FX10H EL84 tube amp, and this easily had me in my hi-fi happy place. Mission accomplished. If you have not yet tried a Class A amp in your system and heard what this will add to your speaker's sound, I strongly recommend dipping your toe in the Class A water and giving it a listen. Class A amps are like PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, for your speakers, at least to my ears and to my listening taste. We are blessed today to have very reasonably priced options like the Apos.audio FX10H, as well as the SMSL VMV A1 solid state Class A amp. These two are priced at $800 and $660 respectively, and they simply sound amazing when added to your signal path. And look, you don't have to replace your existing amp either. Keep both. And for $80 on Amazon, I use a passive AB switch. So in my rack, I have 2 amps wired up, and I can just flip a switch and get more power and drive harder and louder, or flip a switch and add that sweetness and beauty and sound stage from a Class A amp to my listening room. Just a suggestion. I'll put a link in the description to the AB switching box that I use from Amazon down in the description. So the KEF Q Concerto Meta versus the Martin Logan XT-B100. In the living room, I had both of them on stands just 6 to 8 inches from the back wall and no sub. I was playing them on my reference Class D XTZ Edge A2 300 using the WIM Pro Plus streamer, and that's AKM DAC. The Martin Logans sounded great 6 inches off the back wall. But for the Q Concertos, I had to pull them further from the wall than I needed the Martin Logans. I needed the bass reinforcement that these were getting from the wall at 6 to 8 inches to the back wall. Well, for the very first time, I actually took out the port plugs and put them in each speaker. I was a little bit afraid of getting them stuck, and they both blew out the back. And so I put them in a little bit further. But without the port plugs, 6 to 8 inches from the back wall, the bass reinforcement, it wasn't muddy or boomy quite, but let's call it bloomy. It just started to make the bass bloom past what I consider tight and accurate bass, which means I'm looking, that's not what I'm looking for. I want that tight and accurate bass. So just for my taste, it was slightly too much bass emphasis. So at that distance, 6 to 8 inches, I needed to have the rear port plugs in on the Q Concertos. Pulling these out 12 to 18 inches from the back wall completely eliminated the problem, and I didn't need the rear ports. But we all have different, dynamics in our listening rooms. If you need to have the speakers closer for your setup, for me, I would use the port plugs. If you can pull them further into the room, a foot and a half, I don't think you need them. And in here, this is on the stands in the dining room. This is 4.5 feet from the back wall. And here they're about 5 feet from the side wall. Didn't need the port plugs. When you really pull them out in the room, wow, sound amazing. Loved it. Now, yeah, it was interesting for me. I've never used port plugs before. I just never felt the need in that. But actually, it really worked well. Once I got them positioned well, the sound when it comes to the bass, there's just a lot more bass extension and bass reach once I got it tight and accurate than on the Martin Logan Motion XT B100s. I love the Martin Logans, but they don't have bass reach, and they really need a sub for my listening taste. These have really good bass extension. And, well, I'll get back to both the Martin Logan and the Q Concertos have really nice wide soundstage. Both have noticeably above average soundstage. Now, the KEFs have slightly wider soundstage that has more depth to it, but the Martin Logan, the XT-B100s, throw their soundstage out in front and into the room, especially like the vocalist or whatever the recording engineers put into the center channel in the recording, really comes forward and gives a nice depth, but depth not soundstage behind the speakers, it's into the room. And it's really a different soundstage, but it sounds great from both of them. The Martin Logan Motion, it reminds me of how Klipsch presents vocalist out in front. And I'm just speculating here, but I think it may be from that waveguide that's substantial on the folded motion tweeter, the FMT tweeter, which creates this presentation in the soundstage in a similar way that horn loader tweeters on a Klipsch or JBL does, that throw that into the room and a lot of people love. Now, on these two, the upper mids and treble are different in that I will characterize the Martin Logans as sparkly and the Q Concertos as transparent. Both are high-level treble presentation, and I'd happily live for a long time with either one. Neither of these speakers is warm, and neither is flat or neutral or boring. I would almost say that both tell the truth of what is in the recording. And I really like that. Now, that sounds like a studio monitor, but these are not overly analytical in the way that studio monitors can be. But completely subjectively, I found myself listening more and longer to the Q Concertos over the Martin Logans. One more point about the Martin Logans, but without being harsh or brittle, the Martin Logan FMT tweeter presents treble that is extremely clear and has sparkle to it in a really pleasant way. And that is a fine line to walk, that the XT-B100s walk that line really successfully. It's impressive what that FMT tweeter can do. But without a subwoofer paired to the Martin Logan Motion XT-B100s, I prefer the KEF Q Concerto Metas. And maybe that's why I found myself listening and being drawn more to these. The Q Concertos tell the whole story in the music, and they keep giving me this really nice feeling of transparency in how they present the upper mids and treble. It's just clean and clear and crisp in a way that draws me in and keeps me playing just one more track. As I said, it kind of reminds me of drinking a bottle of Pellegrino. When I played the Q Concertos on my Apos.audio FX10H EL84 tube amp in here, and I added the Chord Mojo 2 DAC plus the KEF KC62 sub. Wow. This combo got me to my Hi-Fi Happy Place big time. That is a sweet signal path. I love that. The Apos.audio FX10H tube amp opened up the soundstage even more. It also added some sweetness to the tonality on things like acoustic guitar, strings, and saxophone and trumpet. It also added more bass heft and firmness and fullness. But I do need to caution, when the volume levels from the tube amp, the Apos.audio FX10H, when the volume levels reached peaks, 85 to 87 dB peaks, the amp started to lose control of the Q Concerto's woofers, and the bass distortion required me to turn the volume back down. I believe this is due to the combination of the 85 dB efficiency rating on the Q Concertos, plus the low damping factor of Class A amps, which resulted in this distortion appearing in that 85 to 87 dB peaks range. But for me, if the dB peaks creep into the low 80 dB peaks, that is cranked. I just personally don't enjoy my music at home above that SPL level. As a result, I preferred these on the Apos.audio EL84 tube amp, driving the Q Concertos. For the way I listen, this combo, the Apos.audio EL84 tube amp with the Q Concertos, fantastic combo. But I want those of you who do enjoy your listening at louder SPL levels than I do, when you listen at home, I want to make you aware of that volume limitation of that combo with the tube amp. Now, A/B listening in the dining room here with the KEF LS50 Meta to the KEF Q Concerto Meta. I was playing them on the WIM amp Class D, utilizing the WIM amps ESS Sabre DAC, which has the ES9018 DAC chip in it and no subwoofer. The new Q Concerto Metas has a bit more bass extension than the LS50 Metas, but I was actually really surprised how well the LS50 Metas sounded without the KC62 sub playing. I always have that sub paired with my LS50 Metas. But the LS50 Metas were performing really well down low. Really, I was surprised at that. Like down to 35 to 40 hertz-ish range. So I can clearly hear a 30 hertz test tone when played on Class D amp with the Q Concerto Metas. So I think adding a subwoofer is completely optional based on, your taste and your music library. That, that's up to you. But for me, the Q Concertos do not require a subwoofer for my listening library. Listening to singer-songwriters like John Mayer, Jason Mraz, Jack Johnson, Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Darius Rucker, Max McNown, etc., or jazz and acoustic music, even classic rock and country. I really do not think any of those genres need a subwoofer with the Q Concertos. Now, here's for what really surprised me in this comparison of the Q Concerto Metas to their more expensive sibling, the LS50 Metas. Once I started to set them up side by side in here, and remember, I've had the LS50 Metas in here for about 3 years, I think. And I want to note, when I set them up, I did not need to change the amp volume to level match between these two. That's the first time that's happened to me in A/B listening. So just in the middle of a song, that allowed me to just flip back and forth between the Q Concerto Metas and the LS50 Metas. And I would just flip A/B 4 or 5 times within a single song because I did not have to change the volume level at all to level match the volume. It was perfect. And I listened quite carefully and made sure that with my dB meter to make sure that they were level. Here's what surprised me. I am quite certain if I turned my back, I could not ID which of the two speakers I was listening to. The Q Concertos sounded 98, probably even 99% of a sound quality match to my LS50 Metas. And remember, I've had the Metas, the LS50s, for I think 3 years, a little bit more. I know them really well, and I could not tell them apart. The only way I could determine which was if I intentionally played something with a lot of deep bass, like Billie Eilish's song Bad Guy. And then by the deeper bass reach of the Q Concerto, that would allow me to pick it out. But that's really about all that I can hear that was different. The sound stage also, I think, was 6s between the LS50 Meta and the Q Concerto Metas. Basically the same. That A/B listening experience really was a surprise for me. And I think that's great. Again, the value for money, I think this is a tremendous gateway product for new hi-fi enthusiasts to really up their game and the sound quality that they get home in their listening room. Now, I do want to say I skipped covering the specs today because you can find all that online, and I had a lot I wanted to share here. Very last point is the difference in the look and build quality of the Q Concerto Metas. It's not on as high a level as the LS50 Meta or the Martin Logan XT-B100s. The sound quality is on their level, absolutely, but not quite the finish and appearance. However, it is above the line of check the box. It's above the line of good enough to go in the living room and be okay. And they are handsome, but not beautiful. When you see those three from this distance, they look great. It's when you get really up closer, or like I move them around a lot, the feel is a little bit different. But this is really, in my opinion, should be about sound quality. And these are good enough. They're handsome. They're just maybe not beautiful like the Martin Logans and the LS50 can be. So this has been my review of the KEF Q Concerto stand mount 3-way speakers. My recommendation is value for money. Go with the Q Concerto Metas 100% all day, every day. If you really like treble that sparkles and shimmers without being harsh, and you know you want to pair them with a subwoofer, the Martin Logans may be the best choice for you. And if you place a high value on your speaker's looks and the aesthetic and furniture build quality level more than keeping the 300 extra bucks in your pocket, then either the LS50 Metas for their cool modern vibe, I think they're unique and they're becoming iconic. Or the Martin Logans for their beautiful white satin, high quality paint finish and their attention to detail. As our British friends often say, we are spoiled for choice with these three. I want to say thank you for watching. My goal is to help you reach and enjoy your hi-fi happy place. And most definitely, please come back to this channel. And thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again on the next video. Cheers.